Hey, welcome to Office Hours with David Meltzer. Unfortunately, or fortunately for me and for Craig, David's not here, so we get the show to ourselves. It's kind of like Romper Room. We get to wander all over the place. Okay. My co-host, Craig Siegel. Craig, it's great to have you with us today.
What an honor. We're going to have a lot of fun. I know it's some different faces compared to the usual Dave, but let's get nuts. We have some great guests on today.
Oh, well, I'm looking forward to this lineup. I was kind of previewing it before we went live, and it's kind of like, whoa, this is going to be cool. So bringing up right on deck here and in the batter's box, so to speak. We're coming into the close of the season here, so we just kind of got to reference that. Genevieve LeMarchal, and Genevieve has got a fascinating background here. Managing partner of Suncoast Ventures, and she's head of healthcare ventures at the Expert Dojo. So we're going to talk a little bit about a number of those things, one of which we'll just kind of weave this in right now is a new book that you got out, Attracting Alignment in Business, Purpose, Passion, and Impact in Venture Capital. And Craig and I both kind of dabble in this, and I've got a number of different investments with Dave that we're kind of running together here. So Genevieve, first of all, just welcome to the show.
Thank you, guys. I'm thrilled to be here.
It's good to have you here. So, global health impact investor, and you're also the host of the Adventurous Podcast. But
yes,
I want to just kind of open the door here for attracting alignment in business, because a lot of my background is in business development, particularly from a leadership perspective, and alignment is the holy grail. It truly can. If you can get alignment, the various parts, it's kind of like a magnet. All of a sudden, you've got a lot of pull power.
It's absolutely like a magnet. And I think you're really hitting on something there. What I will say is it's not easy. It's not like you can just wake up one day completely out of aligned with your purpose, your mission, and what it is that you're here to do, and just say, I think I'm going to get into alignment today. It really is a journey. And that's what Adventurous Podcast is about, as well as that's what every single person who works with me, whether they are a founder that we funded, whether they are on the team, you're one of my partners, or you're an investor, we have an exponential ability to work together because we're all aligned. But I will say it started with me and it didn't happen overnight. It's been a journey. It's more about the journey over the rainbow than it is about the pot of gold at the end, for sure.
Yeah.
That's what beautiful. A great metaphor for life, right? We're always waiting for that next goal or that next milestone, but really you have to enjoy the process. Something that I really leaned into, and it's been such a difference maker, just being present and mindful for each and every single moment, and embracing sometimes the unpredictability.
Yes. Well, look, what you're saying about that next goal, I tell people all the time, I'm not going to get out of bed to make a buck. I'm just not going to. It's not enough for me. I need to feel something. It has to be something I'm passionate about. It has to be something I care about. And that's why I specialize in global health equity and impact, because there is no, I'm not going to try to convince you guys that there's a lot of, that there's purpose there. And that's what, on the days when the going is tough, which are many days, money is just not enough. And it's too nebulous and conceptual anyway, but you get up each day for the people and you get up each day for the mission. And that's more than getting up each day for the dollar. You know what I mean?
I couldn't agree more. Yeah,
absolutely. Go ahead, Craig. Yeah.
I was just going to say, I pivoted from Wall Street also in the pandemic and started my CLS brand. It's exploded, I say very humbly. But it's no surprise because I finally found alignment, right? There's that word again, and my calling and so forth. And it just makes life so much more fun. And it's not about the money, but the irony is, right? And I know both of you can attest to, when you are in alignment and you do a really good job and you add value, the money comes. But
magic happens. I think you've probably seen this in the past year. I'm sure we could probably talk about this offline, but I'm sure, in the past year, between Suncoast Ventures as well as Expert Dojo, what myself and my team has accomplished is not possible. When I look at it in just 1 year, impossible. There's no way, but we did it. And the only way that I believe we did it is there's some sort of click and alignment, and things just come together on their own. So I like to tell people, this isn't me creating this. It's being created through me. I'm
Yep.
simply the conduit for it. I allow it, and I attract the right people and the right opportunities. And as a result, we have extremely high performance metrics at Expert Dojo. We're one of the top performing venture capital funds in the nation. We're the fastest growing VC firm in the country. Suncoast is just, rolling right along next to it. And there's no logical reason why we should have had 38 investments in a year, at the clip that we are, except for that we're attracting the right people. And it's like a multiplier effect. It's an exponent.
You're magnetic.
Thank you.
Yeah, see, that alignment that it pulls things in. There's the word dojo. When I was practicing martial arts in Japan back in the 80s, I spent a lot of time in a dojo, and a place of practice. And typically, you take the epaulets off, you take the rank off, and you just kind of come in and you just kind of bump up against each other. And the intent is to sharpen your skills, hone your skills, and excel.
Yes. It's where the best of the best go to train with each other.
Exactly. And it's not about competition, which is a real interesting paradox, because it looks like there's competition going on the mat, but it really isn't about competition. And I'm interested, the Expert Dojo in healthcare, the Expert Dojo Healthcare are all, you got, like you said, 38 investments in global health impact and equity. Mm-hmm. And just in the last year.
In 9 countries.
In 9 countries. How are you keeping inappropriate competition out of the mix with this portfolio?
Right. That's actually a really interesting question. No one's ever asked me that. So for one thing, things are going to occur where a company is going to pivot, or a company is going to come in, and there's going to be companies that are close. There's going to be times when maybe we end up, it hasn't quite happened yet, but I anticipate it could. We've got some direct competition. And one of the things that when we talk about alignment, Craig, is about the law of abundance. And so we have to always come from a place of realizing there is so much for everybody. And if we've got 2 companies coming in to competition with one another, we'll resolve it in the most ethical way possible. However, it's if you lack, your elbow's out. And if you are in abundance, let's expand the pie. Let's make this possible. So we try to come at things from a spirit of saying, how would we collaborate and empower one another rather than take? And a spirit of love. So love, meaning from the standpoint, almost in the way of like, not like romantic love, but like, what would you do if you were trying to just do the absolute right thing, and there was no downside, there was only upside? You would act in love. So
it's beautiful. Craig?
It really was such a beautiful answer. And again, I just want to reiterate, like, your passion is so contagious. It's awesome. I was reading some of the stats on what you guys got going on, and I was so impressed and so proud of you. Is it true that 50% of your portfolio is female founders?
Yes, it is. And I am so proud of that, because especially in healthcare, STEM, so science, technology, engineering, math, those are historically male-dominated fields. You layer that on to venture capital, which is all men. Less than 2% of venture capital dollars go to women-led companies. I myself probably don't look like any VC you've ever met. And so we're really, I just love being able to say, I don't care what they tell me that we can't do. We're going to do what is the right thing. And we're going to invest in the best founders, the best teams. And that just so happens 85% of the companies at Expert Dojo are underrepresented. So whether that's women, Black, like, Latam, under any underrepresented group. And we're not out there trying to be gender lens or diversity lens. We're just saying, like the dojo, just be the best, show up and bring it. And it doesn't really matter what color you are.
That's beautiful. I've done a lot of work with founders, and there's a stage in the life cycle of the company where the founder's mojo oftentimes isn't enough to take it to the next level. And what can inhibit quicker than anything else, the next level growth is the ego that gets in the way.
Oh, yeah.
And I'm assuming that you've actually had to deal with that. And I was wondering, just kind of, do you have a silver bullet, sort of a solution to that, literally that conundrum? Because
I wish I did. I think for one,
that's why I'm asking.
Yeah.
I'm looking for one.
Your vibe attracts your tribe, right?
Yep.
So I tend to not attract those types of people, I think. But also, ego has to have something to bump up against it.
Yep.
And if you don't create any resistance, there's nothing. They'll try to bump, but it doesn't go anywhere. And it just sort of falls apart. And so that's usually where I go when I'm being really pushed by egos in this industry, is to not bump back, and it goes away.
That is brilliant.
Unless I have to, but I don't have to very often, actually. So
yeah, I want to again, everybody. Did you just hear what she said? I mean, this is. I mean, it sounds like a little drive-by, throwaway sort of a thing. It is huge. Don't push back. Yeah. If there's nothing to fight against, the collapse is inevitable. And then people look up and they kind of go, well, wait a minute. What else is there?
I'm fighting alone, and that's no fun. So I'm going to go find someone else.
Yeah, shadow boxing out here. Yeah. So I really want to acknowledge that because I think it's really, really crucial for leaders to understand the power of that. Rome was saved by a general not doing anything when Hannibal crossed the mountains. There's a whole story behind that I can get into later.
Okay, I'm going to go read that actually, because I'm not familiar with that, but I love history. So yes,
the Senate was after him. The emperor was, but the general wouldn't move. And he just let Hannibal tire himself out, got too far in front of his.
You're making me feel very validated right now, because oftentimes, especially in this industry, people are so aggressive and they'll always be like, do I know what to do? But a lot of times I don't have to. It's gonna spin out the way it spins out. And then you save your efforts for the times that you actually do have to go to battle, but you don't have to go to battle over every single little thing, because it's just not. Yeah. And, we all have great lawyers and a great back office team. And I'm a VC, don't get me wrong. The resources are there, but you just don't have to use them. So that's very refreshing.
Yeah. Hell yeah. I know we're wrapping up, but I just wanted to acknowledge you for a second. I know how much pride you take in training and coaching and advising the founders and so forth. Was that always a part of you based upon your past and so forth? Or do you just love to elevate these people and see them fulfill their potential?
Yeah, I actually have not been. I got into this because I love entrepreneurs. I've always loved entrepreneurs. I've always been an entrepreneur, even before I knew what it was. And in fact, it's kind of funny, my career story, whatever. My first career was as a journalist. I wanted to write. I wanted to be in the newsroom. And I thought business was people who would wear pantyhose and sit in cubicles. So I didn't want to do it. I thought it was really boring. But I always have had projects. I've always been trying to create something, whether it was a book or a project. And so I love entrepreneurs. They're like oxygen for me. And I always tell people I've probably got about 10 years left of me of deal making. It's hard, it is a grind, but I'm never going to stop working with entrepreneurs. Entrepreneurs are why I do this. Before I had a fund, I was coaching entrepreneurs. After I'm maybe not running a fund anymore, I will be coaching entrepreneurs. It's, so yeah.
There you go.
Yeah.
Where can people find out more about you, Genevieve, and what you're up to?
Yeah, exactly. Absolutely. You can, of course, if you go to adventurouspodcast.com, we will be launching that channel there very soon with the first couple episodes. We have some amazing guests who are all on there to be talking about the journey of entrepreneurship. I don't want people talking about how great they are and what kind of accomplishments they have or hacks. It's like, we're going to dig in, real talk, real stories, some of those dark nights of the soul that created the transformation. So that's what Adventurous is about. Yeah, it's a play on venture and adventure. Of course, you can go to expertdojo.com to hear all about everything that we are doing over there. We've just had 200 investments in 20 countries. At Expert Dojo, we're based in Santa Monica, but we're investing all over the world, not just in healthcare. I just do health, but in fintech and blockchain and enterprise SaaS and CPG and you name it. It's a really cool organization and we're on a tear. So if you are an entrepreneur and you have the next big thing in your growth phase, come see us. We want to meet you. And then of course there's suncoastvc.com. So
all right.
Yeah.
We'll be sure and get all of those in the show notes. Suncoast
Thank
TV, suncoastvc.com.
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 Yes.
And expertdojo.com. Genevieve, LeMarchal, I want to thank you. Craig and I I would love to have this conversation continue. And
I know we should just like go talk about it in the park or something.
Here. So we're going to be reaching out to you. I want to get you back on the show. And,
wonderful.
I've got a couple of other opportunities here for conversations to take place. So
yeah, I definitely want to explore more synergy as well, Genevieve. You're awesome, great spirit, and awesome energy, and you're making a major difference. And we acknowledge you, and I'm excited to continue the friendship.
Thank you, guys. Yes, it was so nice to meet you.
Bye-bye.
Bye-bye.
Whoa,
she was great.
My gosh, I love it. I love it. I love it.
You could just feel the passion. It's different when you see somebody that soul is lit. It's just a different vibe.
Yeah. To be able to take 38 companies in a year and make them viable, I mean, this is a big deal. And to have over 50% of them be run by women, and 80% of them, I mean, it's just hats off. I love it.
Yeah, she's a great personality, and it's no surprise as to why she's having so much success as a leader.
Yep. And okay, it looks like our next guest, Jordan Matthews, is having a little bit of technical difficulty, but we've got him coming in here by phone, I think.
Yeah.
So as soon as Maddie's got that set up, we'll run with it. This whole idea of leadership and alignment. I mentioned at the beginning with Genevieve that that is the holy grail. And in any organization I've ever seen, how do you get all these disparate people, lined up going in the same direction? The old organizational design joke is we went away, designed the perfect organization, we screwed it up when we put people in it. Yeah. And just getting this herd of cats lined up. If you can accomplish that to some degree, you're going to be pretty golden.
100%. And Maddie asked a great question in the chat, waiting for the guest. Biggest takeaway of the week. I'm on the edge of my seat, Blaine. I can't wait to hear yours.
My biggest takeaway for this week has been, So far. Yeah, I got one more day to go. The biggest takeaway this week is, this is kind of why I landed on what Genevieve was talking about, is not pushing back. Just that, the Chinese have got a word for it, wu wei, and just the lack of resistance opens the door to so many possibilities. Because a newsletter I just sent out this week, talking about the overarching need that people have to be right about a position. So much so that it supersedes, literally, for 99% of the population, getting what I say I want. I would rather be right than get what I say I want. And I invite those of you that are listening right now, check in on that. Where would you rather be right than get what you say you would like to have, which typically is respect, being heard, being acknowledged, being seen, being right. I mean, all of those sorts of things. But I'd rather be right about my position, and I will take it to the mat.
Yeah, what a beautiful answer, straight up. And just so true. And one thing Dave always talks about, right, is letting go of the interference and blocking that out so you can stay in alignment, stay in fire. And a good word that comes to mind is when you're able to do that, you're able to become available, right, for those maybe those unexpected great opportunities and possibilities out there.
Absolutely. And that kind of goes back into something else that I spend a lot of time with, the clients that I'm working with on. As a matter of fact, the leadership mastermind that I run, there it is. The Sharon just came up here, Mindset Mastermind. A large focus on that is authenticity. It's leadership authenticity. And the idea of understanding what authenticity is becomes really important. And I've done a lot of research in that. And I looked at Kierkegaard. I looked at, you just kind of go through the philosophers. And basically where I landed is authenticity is what I'm left with when I stop trying to manage your perceptions of me. When I stop trying to manage your perceptions, manage what you think of me, what you get is the authentic Blaine.
Yeah,
I just show up. And that is a platform that has a lot of leverage. I can actually work from that because I'm not distracted.
Yeah, that's great. What's that expression that I heard recently? It's something like this. I'm not who I think I am. I'm not who you think I am. I am who I think you think I am, or something like that. Have you ever heard anything like that, Blaine?
Yeah, I've heard that phrase. An article I wrote a long time ago. You are the conversation, and it has to do with the whole notion around the story of who you are gets in the room before you do, and people are interacting with the story they've made up about who you are in their minds. They interact with that story before they ever get to you. And so they miss 90% of what it is that you're trying to put on the table. So yeah, you are the conversation, and it's not just the word you're speaking. You as a living embodiment of something. You leave people when you walk back out that door again, there's a residual that's left behind. And people are still tasting it. They're still interacting with it. It's still, is taking up rent in their mind. And most people don't pay attention to what is the conversation that I am. How do people feel about themselves when they're in my presence? Do they feel uplifted? Do they feel empowered? Do they feel ennobled? Do they feel creative?
Great word. Yeah.
So
I wanted to ask you, because we're talking about leadership, and you have such a proven track record and a lot of life experience. What excites you most about the opportunity to lead people and elevate them?
That last piece, elevate them. Leaders set the ceiling in every environment for where their people go. My people will never go further than the ceiling that I have set. And that ceiling is a ceiling of consciousness, what I think is possible. I set that ceiling. And highly effective leaders are continuously working on themselves to raise the bar, raise their bar. And when they raise their bar, it raises the bar on everybody else that they're interacting with. So leadership is probably the best sport that you could engage in. It truly is, if I put it that way, because the only person that I'm actually in interaction with is myself. I think I'm actually leading others. No, I'm not. I'm leading me. And if I'm doing a good job of it, they're going to come along.
So good.
Because they're just entranced. It's kind of like, I want part of that.
So good. I think our guest might be here, Jordan. There he is.
Hey, guys.
Yes.
Jordan Matthews.
Yeah, how you doing? Happy Thursday, guys.
Hey, happy Thursday.
Thank you.
A little bit of difficulty getting in here, huh?
Yeah, it was like it's funny. I was handling some crazy stuff that was kind of popping up, and then kind of went from that flow and then jumping into some tech stuff, and we figured it out. But, here we are.
Wow. I love the way the universe works, Jordan. The book that you want to talk about is Failure. When you have nothing, you have everything. So you failed to get in here.
Yeah.
I mean, but now we've got all kinds of stuff. We can actually talk about that. We can leverage that. We can actually kind of run with that a little bit. What's going on with the book? It covers your decade-long career as a film finance executive, and this is probably one of the most competitive, cutthroat industries that I have ever had the pleasure to be involved with. And I do mean pleasure because it's highly creative. But what kind of generated this book?
So, I mean, I started working with a really good colleague of mine who, he's a therapist and someone I got introduced to because I went through a really bad breakup when I first moved to LA. I think I was about maybe 22, 23 at the time. It was back in 2007-ish or so. And he became like a mentor. and a consultant and almost a second father figure. And we would have these really deep discussions. And he really opened me up to a place where I was hindered because I had moved out to LA in about 2006, and I started, not unlike a lot of people, like in the acting space, felt like I was hitting a lot of roadblocks. And my mother was this entrepreneur. And so I had a very amazing business sort of teaching that was implemented into me since day one, since I was much younger. I didn't know how to integrate that, but I started to realize that the business was a business. And, you know, it's people who own companies, option material, raise money, venture capital, all that stuff. And really what happened was, in working with him, he really kind of opened up a space where I took a lot more authority and permission to just go for it. It was influenced on a personal level because I lost my father when I was about 19. He suffered from alcoholism. We all have those personal tragedies and things that happen. It's just part of life, right?
Yes.
But there was, in that loss, one of the great things that came out of it was that was my first experience. I think up to that point in my life, I'd always been really high performance. So I always wanted to get it right. I would work tirelessly, but I wanted to make sure I got it right. I didn't want to fail. I didn't want to make a mistake. That was not something I was willing to do. And then when he passed away, I went through a tremendous, that was part of my work with this guy's name is Jay Justice, an incredible, colleague of mine. I came to a place where I was not afraid to lose. So I didn't care about bankruptcy, didn't care about lawsuits, didn't care about losing relationships. And so once I got to that place, I was willing to take the risk. So I raised a couple $1 million initially in 2008 in the middle of the financial crisis. The things that were going on were very crazy. We were involved in an oil deal when oil was skyrocketing in price, and then it bottomed out. And that was a part of trying to finance this project that blew up. And there's actually a part of the book that goes into this ship that it was being lifted, and there were Somali pirates, and a ransom was paid, and then it was being sold to ConocoPhillips, and Hurricane Ike hit, blew up the entire deal. And I was negotiating against Tom Cruise's attorney and James Cameron's attorney at the time, and was really green to the industry. But we mortgaged real estate, margin bond accounts. The stock market was dropping for the first time, really since the Great Depression, at least to the degree that it was, getting margin calls, all this stuff. And I started in this project. No one knew that I was financing and producing it. And so that was really the beginning, but it got into a lot, bigger stuff as it unfolded.
What a deep and profound story. I didn't expect to get this deep right out the gate. First of all, thank you for the vulnerability and the transparency and sharing all that. What a crazy journey. And your book, Failure, it has a subtitle, correct me if I'm wrong, when you have nothing, you have everything. And it's funny because I was in a little bit of a dark place a few years back. And I always like to tell my clients nowadays, it's like rock bottom with a different perspective could be a beautiful place to be. It's actually liberating because there's essentially only one place to go from there. It's almost like you have nothing to lose. And I feel like just hearing you speak right now, you kind of felt that same frequency.
100%. I mean, so that was the beauty of it. It was such a freeing place because, I mean, it's one thing to be like at a place where like, okay, I know that concept from an idea perspective. Like I can read a book, I can hear about it in a lecture, what is it like to be in that place? But when you're forced into a corner, when you legitimately have nothing to lose and you've actually lost, you fully lost what, that was really the beauty of it because, look, I mean, there are realities to life, right? We all understand, but we've all signed up for what that reality is. And in terms of, why they make movies like The Matrix and whatnot, money is all an agreement, property is an agreement. I mean, there's realities to it, but you can transcend that. And once you get beyond that place, if you're truly in a place where you want to make something incredible happen, it may be very painful, but I think life is painful. And I think that's the mistake that I really started to learn was it's part of conditioning within society. And that's kind of how society has to work to get people to agree to these things where they won't go beyond a certain point. But I think that life is naturally very uncomfortable. That is the normal place where life is. And when you're convinced that you are always needing to seek comfort and that you're going in the wrong direction if it's not comfortable, you'll never grow. And so I was always seeking places where I wanted to take a big risk every single day. And as a result of that, by the time I was 27, I had put together about $600 million in financing deals with the studios. And that ended up in a huge mess when I was locked up in my business partner's divorce. And everything totally imploded. I met my wife, had kids, had to restart everything, go to law school, and everything actually got much bigger from there, but it was a really big hit. But at least I was willing to take the shot and go for it and legitimately, push whatever wall was in front of me.
It's interesting. Without discomfort, there is no growth. Growth, by definition, puts me in a place that I've never been before. And that unfamiliarity is uncomfortable. Yeah, it's uncomfortable. Rene Descartes, I think therefore I am. He also said something that was really interesting. If you'd be a real seeker of truth, it's necessary at least once in your life, as far as possible, to question and doubt everything.
Yep.
And if you're not yourself in that position,
it's really funny, and it's almost like a cynical thing, especially as a lawyer. But I mean, but it's true. It's funny because people will say things to me all the time with a level of certainty, like this is the way it is. And my initial inclination is to say, okay, well, that's actually not true. Like, that's your argument. That's your position. That's what you think. You can support it in some way, shape, or form, but I can give you another perspective. And so you got to keep an open mind. But yeah, I mean, and it's freeing. It's amazing what you can do when you trust yourself that you will sort of land on your feet. Sky's the limit. So
that's great. Jordan, thank you for being here. I know you had some difficulty getting in.
No problem.
But, this is a nice fire hose drink right now.
Yeah.
Love to have you back a little bit more detail when we come back in. And I know David wants to talk to you a little bit. So, we'll make sure that happens again here too. Check out Jordan's new book, Failure. When you have nothing, you have everything. Thank you very much. Jordan Matthews.
Connected.
Definitely. Thanks, guys.
You bet.
Good night.
Good stuff.
Interesting perspective for sure.
Yeah. It's when everything it reminds me, Janis Joplin. I'm going to date myself on that one, but freedom's just another word for nothing left to lose.
Yeah.
And away we go. And when you get to that point, you just roll the dice, and it actually life can be really, really interesting in my experience. At that point, and I've been there about 3 times in my life, at least 3 times.
To be honest, it's very relatable to me. When I pivoted and started this, I was so unhappy that I wasn't scared to become uncomfortable. Because what I was scared of most is going back. Yeah,
exactly.
Yeah.
Well, Chantel's here, so let's bring our next guest on. Yeah,
Hi.
Chantel here. How are you?
I'm good. Hang on. Let me just make sure my mic, I don't know if I'm set on the audio here.
Well, you sound great.
Do I? Okay, let's go then. We'll go with this.
Yeah, we're kind of running with the theme here, I think.
Mercury retrograde.
Well, celebrating successes and failures, which is exactly the nature of your Circle Up virtual event that's coming up here.
Yeah.
Celebrating successes and failures. Get unstuck and stay inspired.
Yeah.
Okay. Talk to us. Inspire us. What's going on?
Oh, well, failure. I actually, I loved catching the back end of that talk because I'm definitely in the camp of you actually can't succeed without having some meaningful failure. And in fact, I don't know anybody that has succeeded without meaningful failure. And if they have, the success is not really deep. And it's often built on a house of cards. So I don't know if I'm just telling myself that because I had some failure. When I started Emerging Women 10 years ago, we had a business model based on in-person events. And we would have you name it, my sort of like list of like the hottest women that have influenced me over my lifetime. Alanis Morissette came, Ani DeFranco, Jane Goodall, Ariana Huffington, Brene Brown, Liz Gilbert. I could go on and on. There's so many people on this list, and they were fabulous and impactful. And we would have 10,000 people on the live stream and 650 people in the room. And it was over 4 days, and it was all the things that you get when you're in like the vibe and you're sharing energy with like just power. For in our case, it was all women, a few brave men. And then, thankfully, it just after 5 years of that, I couldn't make the business model work. I mean, it's really tough business doing events. And we just had so many stakeholders. And I'm like, how can I capture the Googles that are sending their people and Charles Schwab and all the thought leaders who were teaching like a new sort of paradigm for business and leadership that was more tailored to women. And the women who were there were just like, wanting to grow in consciousness and in leadership. And so we ended up taking the model and selling it into corporations and pivoted. And now we're a leadership consulting company. And now I'm going back out into the public using the technology we use in tech. We work with large companies. And I'm scared, because I got burned in the sort of butts and seats model. And I'm like super scared, super uncomfortable. And part of me just wants to curl up and stay cush in my little B2B over here. But I just feel like the message is too powerful. And especially when we're talking about raising female voices in paradigms of power, I just feel like the urgency is here, and I'm ready to go back out, but I'm not going to lie to you. Yeah.
What came to mind just now was, first of all, beautifully articulated, is it might be scary, but what is the cost of inaction, right?
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
Yeah. I mean, the cost is just sort of like, relying on tech companies to sort of support the change from within an organizational structure. And I'm an entrepreneur. And while I love that, and I do think, especially in tech and areas like artificial intelligence, we need diverse voices in both the creation and the leadership there. I just feel like so passionate about what's possible through entrepreneurship. And so when we reach out directly to the public, we're speaking to women like me who are like sort of on the edge of that, whether it's online marketing or they've got a product that they're selling, and it's rough out there. It's rough with financing for women entrepreneurs. The whole model, the pitch in 7 slides and boom, boom, boom. I mean, I raised money for my company, and it was hard pitching in front of tech stars and, not a lot of women there. So I want to support women in all, like I said, all areas of the sort of leadership dynamic. And I can't leave the entrepreneurs out. I think that would be a big cost.
Well, that would be that is the demographic. That is the market. Now, I want to go back to the tagline on your book, celebrate, or not the book, the event, the virtual event coming up.
Yeah.
Get unstuck and stay inspired. So getting unstuck is one thing. And when all of a sudden I just kind of go, I pop out and I'm unstuck, it's kind of like, oh my God, which is kind of where you're at right now. Yeah. How do you, personally, how are you finding ways to keep inspired, to keep that vision, to keep that ideal in front of you so that the fear doesn't actually overcome that ideal? How are you doing that for yourself?
Well, the inspired piece is, I don't know. I think that the more connected we are with our purpose and the more we're articulating that day in and day out, because you can just be in a vacuum and just be like, oh, I'm so excited by my ideas. That goes nowhere unless you are giving your gift and connection with others. We cannot achieve greatness, individuals, men or women or whatever, on our own in isolation. We can't be self-actualized, which is I don't know if you know the Maslow's hierarchy of human needs, right? Like you cannot actualize in a vacuum, in isolation, just like any flower or any piece of the ecosystem cannot actually flourish without these connections. So for me, any chance I get to, like, this is such a fabulous show, and I love this concept of office hours, but because we all should be talking about what we're passionate about constantly and to different audiences. So it forces us to give our perspective in a way, in different ways, so that different audiences can receive it. So to me, it's about connection. That's what keeps me the most inspired. Hearing stories like the gentleman who was just on, hearing the questions, and also talking about my own, what lights me up is how I keep in the game.
That's awesome. Is it true you used to be in medical device manufacturing?
Yes.
I'm curious, because there's always lessons that we take and we apply them to future endeavors and so forth. What's something in that industry that you were able to accumulate and apply to all the success that you're having now?
Well, I was, first of all, innovation. Okay. So a lot of what we do, to invent, and my dad had 56 patents. He was a mechanical engineer. My whole family's from France.
Wow.
And so he was, and he only had a 2-year drafting degree from a university in Paris. Didn't speak English very well, came over here. And so I grew up with, I woke up in the middle of the night and I wrote down my idea, and then he starts making it, and then a company would buy it, and he would do patents for different companies. And so innovation was really big, and where it comes from, curiosity and frustration. And those, I came to appreciate that in medical devices because I was at a startup, and the frustration of not being able to run fast enough to get the top quality materials. The product I worked with had ceramic parts, and we had to get the best ceramic with the just all these specs. And I was tired of always being frustrated, but then I realized that, frustration is the birthplace of innovation, because you want to solve the problem so badly that it keeps you up at night. And we were kind of all in it together. So I have a new appreciation for that. And even as an entrepreneur in the field of sort of conscious human-centered leadership, I feel that frustration is the same, because, I want to get all my tech out there. I want to go big. I want to go wide. And it, I'm never quite there. Right. So it really pushes me to go further and faster.
Frustration and desire, flip sides of the same coin.
Yeah, but are they though? Because desire has a little edge to it, right? Desire and frustration. I don't know are they the flip or are they the same? It's like longing, right? Mm-hmm. Longing and desire. It's like, you don't have it yet. Otherwise you wouldn't be desiring it. Right.
Right.
Yeah. So it's kind of, I feel like the other side is, well, to me, the other side is apathy, or, a lot of mindfulness where we're taught to just accept. And I'm sort of like, being a little cheeky here, but like this radical self-acceptance, which I think is really a good thing, that we're not like fighting against ourselves. But at the same time, acceptance all the time just feels like it's so polite, and if we want to push against not just innovating product, but innovating how we work together, how we do business, how we lead, we can't be too polite. We can't be too accepting, right?
Mm-hmm. Yeah, beautifully said. Chantal, you're very dynamic.
Oh, thank you.
Big
I feel like I'm yelling. I'm so,
No, I like the way you think.
Oh, that's sweet. Thank you.
Well,
it's an honor to be here.
Well, we've loved having you on the show here. The idea now, this is October 12th, right? The Circle Up event.
Right. So we're launching a Power Circle event, which is the technology we use in tech companies, like HP and Oracle and these big, huge mammoth companies. We do a technology called Power Circles, and where we have people in small groups, and then they meet as large cohorts, and they're together for a year. So we do deep dives, and they're all from all over the world, and we do it virtually. We're launching that to the public on October 12th. And we also have a Circle Up, which we do monthly as part of our membership. And basically, these are opportunities to take any topic that's relevant, like failure, success, vulnerability, and authenticity, and on, and just put some intentionality on how we're living and we're working every month. And that is so powerful, because when we live from a place of intention, we live in a more creative space as opposed to reactive. And I don't know about y'all, but I'm like so done with reactive living.
Same.
So done.
Yeah.
You know, and so we have to carve out spaces like this where they're regular, where we're actually bringing a level of deliberation to our living and our working, and it requires some reflection, both from people and, you know, ourselves as we talk. So both of those events, the Circle Up, which is monthly, through emergingwomen.com, and the Power Circle program is launching in October as well. And all that you can find on emergingwomen.com. And I will say we launched emerginghuman.com too, because what they found is we were bringing so many men into the program that, you know, we measure, when we go into corporations, we measure attrition, retention, engagement before and after the year. And it's always up, like, and, you know, all of our numbers are up. We see no difference in the public side. We don't have the people analytics organizationally, but, you know, things like I'm more clear about my vision. I know what I want. I'm able to articulate my vision in 2 minutes. Sometimes you only have 30 seconds, right? Yeah. So the more you talk, the more you live it. And the more you listen, the more you give also. So there's a give and take in all these offerings. So
she's getting fired up. I love it.
I know. I'm just sort of like, I want to ask you guys questions.
Hey,
we're going to bring you back for a sequel.
Okay. Sounds good.
Love to have you back for sure. We'll get David involved in it. Okay.
I look forward to connecting further. Thank you so much for joining us.
Yeah, it's been an honor. Take good care.
Thank you.
Bye, everybody.
Bye.
Bye-bye. What a great show. Dynamic guests.
I love it. Yeah. What's your takeaway here, Craig?
You know, it's funny. Jordan came on a little bit late. He was having some technical difficulties. But one of the topics that he talked about that I think is so applicable for anybody that's going through a tough time, doesn't necessarily have to be rock bottom, but just the mentality that if you're feeling down or it feels like the walls are caving in, sometime with a different perspective, it's a beautiful place to be, because then you could take those shots that you might not have taken when you have a lot to lose. And so anybody that's going through something with a different perspective or a paradigm shift, as Dave and I like to say, it could be really exciting. And Jordan proved that for sure.
Yeah. Yeah, all three guests I kind of touched on this. There was a theme that kind of ran through this thing today, and the idea. I actually cribbed a couple of notes here. The idea of there's nothing to lose. There's no pushback. It is what it is. Harvest the good, forgive all the rest. Let myself move forward. It is what it is, and it's I don't have to like it. Matter of fact, I probably won't like it sometimes, but it is what it is. What can I get out of this and move myself forward? That is a powerful, powerful mindset to work from.
It's like that transformation from victim to victor, right? You don't have to like it, and 99% of the time you won't, but accept the fact that this is where you're at, but how do we move forward?
Spot on. Now, I'm assuming that David is going to be running his program tomorrow morning, coaching program. So, Matt, feel free to correct us if we're in error on that. But go ahead. Those of you that are,
we're going Saturday. Stay tuned for details.
Friday.
Just stay tuned for details. But as of right now, we're going Saturday. I wanted to
clarify on that because I think he's traveling, so that'll be good. So, those of you that would typically tune in to see David on Friday, he's going to be there on Saturday morning. So, Craig, thanks. I loved getting reconnected with you here. This has been a great show.
There's a special chemistry and connection here. I genuinely loved it. Always a pleasure when I get together with you, and hopefully it's just the beginning of many more.
Hey, absolutely, buddy. Hey, check out my mastermind, guys. This is a shameless plug on my behalf. Learn BlaineBartlett.com, LMM/LMM. It's a leadership mastermind. We're going to be launching the third year of that November 7th. go to the website. There's an interview page there. Not letting everybody in. I'm going to be selective. So count yourself amongst the chosen few. Sign up and I'll talk to you and we'll go from there. And be good. Be a center of distribution, not a center of accumulation, and life will work for you. Take care.
Good night, guys.